Welcome back to Out of Possession, and today is a very good day. It's a very good episode because Manchester City have beat Liverpool, battered Liverpool, in fact, 4-0, and we're going to delve into it, which is obviously something I'm going to love talking about. Rao, as a Liverpool fan, maybe not that much. So, obviously, like I just said, we're joined by Rao to talk about this. He's a Liverpool fan, and just maybe people who aren't aware of your content, Rao, do you want to tell them what you do and where to find you?
Yeah, what's up, guys? Hope you're doing well. As has been said, I'm a Liverpool fan, so obviously not feeling the best today after what happened yesterday. But yeah, the kind of content I make is just it's really, really basic and fun. That's the main thing. Is that it's fun. It's I find a couple of things I like in the game. I talk about them. I analyze them, and I study philosophy at uni. So this kind of stuff is more. Thinking about the X's and O's of football as opposed to big narratives. I don't. My content, you're probably not going to find me talking about should Arne Slot stay or go. You'll probably find me talking about some pressing structure or some systematic pattern in midfield. Something that's just a bit more lighthearted and fun. So for all of you nerds who like football, then check me out on TikTok as Reasoning with Rao. Same on Instagram and on YouTube too.
Well, you say that, but I think we will catch you talking about should Arne Slot stay or go today, because that is a big talking point, unfortunately. We'll do the press instructions as well, but where do we start? I think we'll go chronologically, right, and work through it from the start, because it was a very weird game because you can almost split it into two sections for me, and that isn't first half and second half like you'd normally expect. I think it's the first 35 minutes and then everything after that, because the game seemed to change monumentally after that point. And I think that's mainly down to James Trafford and how the pressing changed, because obviously first 35 minutes, I think you guys were being very aggressive, committing a lot of bodies forwards in the press. And maybe it's an intensity thing, right? You can't maintain that for 90 minutes and then you dropped off after 35. But I think there was a really pivotal moment on the 35th minute where we just saw us use James Trafford as that extra man to then create the free man, etc., etc. You get that chain reaction, right? Everyone knows how you do that. But then you guys seem to drop off a bit more. You were far reluctant to press really aggressively because you know there's that risk now of us being able to play through it and then leave big spaces in behind. And I think that then what we saw was maybe a kind of half-hearted press, only committing three people, and then big spaces opened up, right? Because you're not very good at defending in a low block, and we could find Cherky in the pockets, find Bernardo in the pockets, etc., etc. And then we had complete control of the game. Would you agree with that assessment, or do you maybe think it was something else that catalyzed the change?
I'd say like where you're saying it changed is definitely right. I would say I'm not sure if as a Liverpool player you'd look at what changed in around the 35th minute and say we can't press anymore. I think what it might have been was that I think we played really well first 35 minutes, and
Yeah.
we created a few chances that were really good chances, and they were missed and missed quite badly. And as a footballer, when that kind of happens, especially for those in midfield and further back, you create good chances and your strikers miss them. It kind of makes you feel like, what's the point, right? It's almost like you don't get that. Oh, let's keep going, let's keep going, let's keep going. Especially when it's the same players doing it over and over again. I mean, Salah's chance, and I think it was like the 14th minute or something like that. That's the kind of chance that really demoralizes a team, I think personally. But also around the 35th minute was when you guys scored the first goal. And obviously going 1-0 down changes the mentality. And it seems like, obviously, I have no idea what's going on in the dressing room right now, but it seems like the players, once they realize that they might actually lose the game, they don't fight to win it anymore. So going 1-0 down is like, oh, well, here we go again. We're going to lose again. And I think especially when you get those chances early on and you don't score, it doesn't fill you with confidence that you're going to score. We
Yeah.
in the first 30 or 35 minutes had, I'd say, maybe more clear-cut chances than you in terms of shots. You had great passages of play and some nice balls across the box for sure, but you didn't miss any chances like, oh, what the hell. We had some really, really good chances that in previous seasons Salah puts in the net, and then you just see their heads drop. And obviously you have to figure out what's going on if you're part of the staff at Liverpool. But that head dropping thing seems to be recurring, right? It seems to be something that goes on. But yeah, as you said, your assessment practically perfect in terms of if I agree or not. And obviously you scored 2 minutes after that, so that probably added to it as well.
I think there's probably some truth to that. I think personally, I'm always quite wary of analyzing something and looking at mentality, just because I think these guys are like professional athletes. They've got all the psychologists you'd need. Like to get to the point they're at, their mentality has to be ridiculously strong. It just does. And therefore, I think I'm very wary of going after a mentality thing. I think we see it loads with like all the Man United legends, right? It's always an attitude thing, a mentality thing. But I just think the attitude of top professional footballers, I think, is always going to be top. And maybe that's a bit naive because obviously it's not always top, but that's just kind of where I stand. So I think there's probably an element of truth to both things. And if obviously you're a Liverpool fan, you watch every game. If this is a recurring issue, then I think that's a fair assessment. But to say that based on one game,
no. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Is like it isn't based. Like if this was the first game of the season, I wouldn't have said that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But once you see it 25 times in a season, you go, oh right, this is a pattern as opposed to nitpicking. You know, I think with the Man United legends, that like mentality in football is like, yeah, top professionals, they have to have a great mentality to become top professionals. But at the same time, some guys are just really good at football and they haven't mastered that mentality bit yet. And they are literally where they are just because they're really good at football. Like Ryan Cherky, before he joined Man City, I mean, you can even see it when he plays. Like he doesn't have that mentality, like this is really serious, let's win right now. Like let me do everything I can to win. Hugo Ekitike is the same. Like they're out there having fun. You know, they don't have that Gary Neville, Wayne Rooney, don't care about aesthetics, let me just go win. But yeah, like I said, if this was the first game of the season, you can't really talk about mentality because you don't have enough sample size to really. I mean, even now, you only have 20 games. Like you don't know what's going on in someone else's head. But when you see the same things going on and on and on, like you miss a couple chances, now you stop pressing, and that happens in multiple games. It's less of a guess and more of an inference.
I think, yeah, like I say, it's probably an element of both, right? I'd lean towards the James Trafford effect personally because I've seen so many games this season of us with Donnarumma, even the 2-1 against you guys, right? I think we were really poor in that game and you had constant control. And that's because we don't have a goalkeeper who can play out and therefore we're constantly losing the ball. You guys can constantly press high and it'd be really effective. And I think every single time James Trafford plays, we see almost the same thing where teams try and start pressing really high. And then around the 20th to 30th minute, we'll have a great passage of play. We'll play through the press comfortably using Trafford and create a really good chance. And then after that, the game always shifts, whether that's Arsenal in the EFL Cup final, whether it were yesterday, whether it's against Newcastle. These teams realize what we're doing is super risky, and then they drop off and give us control. And from that point, the game is much easier for us because they're the type of games we want to play, right? It's the type of games Bernardo Silva thrives in, the type of games Cherky thrives in, the type of games Rodri thrives in. And I think I'm not a big Donnarumma fan, and people have heard me go on about this loads and loads and loads, but I think we're so much better with James Trafford in goal for that reason. So I'm always going to lean on the James Trafford effect, but
that's so crazy.
It's football, right? There's lots of narratives, so it's not lots of narratives, lots of variables. So it's almost always going to be a combination of multiple things. But for me, I think Trafford is probably the more significant one right now.
Wow, that's funny because I don't know who I was talking to. Maybe just my cousin. We're talking about goalkeepers in the Premier League and then in the world, and he's an Arsenal fan. We're talking about David Raya, but I think like the best keeper in the world is Thibaut Courtois, and that's not because he's really good at doing anything tactically. It's just like he's going to save stuff that someone else isn't going to save. And when you have a goalkeeper like that, I mean, think about it. Like when Real Madrid won the Champions League in 2022 against Liverpool in the final, we lost 1-0. Any other goalkeeper, I think even if they had Alisson, we would have won that game. Like he made saves that literally nobody else would make. When David De Gea was in his prime at Man United, they were staying in games and finishing top 4 in seasons when they weren't very good because they just had such a good keeper. Or PSG last year, they won the treble with Donnarumma, and he was by far the best keeper in the Champions League last season. So obviously Trafford, and as a football purist, you love someone like Trafford because I want everybody to be able to play football, and with having 11 players that can, you can do a lot more. But at the end of the day, the goalkeeper is there to stop the ball going in the goal. And Donnarumma does that better than everybody bar Courtois. And the way in which he does it is almost unbelievable. Like you could never really plan for it. Like you see stuff that's like, no way, like there's no chance he saved that. And I think that's invaluable. It's like why Alisson for so long has, in my opinion, been the best keeper in the Premier League. Maybe not now, but he has been, because sure, he can play out from the back. Sure, he's good with his feet. And that's what when we signed him, that was what, we were getting. But he just saves shots that you shouldn't be able to save. And he thwarts chances that should be goals. And Donnarumma does that. And I don't know Trafford too well. I know he's a good keeper, but I don't know if he has that. I don't want to use the word aura, but Donnarumma does have that. You know what I mean? Like
I
he
think
does
I
have
think that's
that.
a misconception about Donnarumma, though. I don't think he's an insane shot stopper, because
Right.
yes, he has the Courtois effect of being able to do the crazy saves. Like, there isn't a better example than the one he made against you guys in the 2-1 right at the end. Like, I think the only two goalkeepers in the world that save that are Donnarumma and Courtois. But the thing with Courtois is, he's going to save almost everything. Like, he never makes mistakes, whereas Donnarumma makes loads of mistakes. Like, there's so many times where, especially like the shots that are down low to his left, he's really, really poor at. And there's
Okay.
so many times where there's maybe a shot and you think, if you're this elite shot stopper you're meant to be, and you have to be for the trade-off to be worth it, right? If
Mhm.
the trade-off is, oh, you're going to be crap ball player and that's going to put us under a lot of pressure, you can't really claim crosses, but you're this elite shot stopper. If it was Courtois, I think I'd be more inclined to go, oh, that's trade-off's probably worth it. But Donnarumma isn't Courtois. Yes, he can make the insane save that happens once every 5 games. But what I look for in a goalkeeper is someone who does the easy stuff really, really consistently. I think that's far more valuable in that position. And Donnarumma doesn't do that. He consistently will not save things you think maybe he should have saved that, which
Okay.
for me brings him down a few notches as a shot stopper. Obviously, he's still a fantastic shot stopper, but he's not Courtois level. And then on top of that, you have terrible ball playing goalkeeper that puts us under pressure constantly that we wouldn't have under Trafford, and therefore he doesn't really fit the Man City mold. And then on top of that, again, in a league where set pieces are arguably the most influential thing at the moment, he can't catch a cross. There's so many times that he comes for a cross and just completely misses the ball. And we've got
Yeah.
away with it a lot this season from getting lucky, to be honest, and defenders maybe winning the header after he misses it. But
Mm.
against West Ham, we conceded because of that. And I think we should have conceded way more goals because of that. So, yes, I think he is a good shot stopper, but I don't think he's a good enough shot stopper to mitigate the weaknesses, which are massive. And a lot of people, right, they point at PSG and go, they thought this, they got rid of him. Now look where they are. I don't think PSG getting rid of Donnarumma was the mistake. I think PSG getting Chevrolet, I can never say his name, but you know I'm on about. I think that was the mistake. It's very similar to me when Pep Guardiola came in and we got rid of Joe Hart for Claudio Bravo. And then obviously next transfer window or whatever it was, we went and got Edison. Getting rid of Joe Hart there wasn't the mistake. The mistake was getting Bravo, who wasn't very good. And then when you bring in an actually good ball playing goalkeeper in Edison, it looks like the right decision. And I think that'll happen with PSG as well. They'll go and get the right guy maybe this summer or next summer, and then it'll look like the right decision. Because I think Donnarumma, just with the profile of player he is, he puts a really low ceiling on a team.
Okay. Well, I mean, I obviously, if someone asked me, do I agree? I'd say no. Like, I just think Donnarumma's better, but I will defer to you because some of the things you said about claiming crosses and not saving the easy stuff, I don't see that because I don't watch every Man City game. So from what I know, and I guess what you would have known in previous seasons, is that Donnarumma is a fantastic shot stopper because we also didn't watch every PSG game. But obviously now you have more of a sample size. You would know more than I do. So in this situation, I would defer to you, even if I disagree with you. So yeah, we can agree to disagree.
I think 90% of my content now is just James Trafford over Donnarumma, because I think
Really?
every problem we see with Man City for me comes back to the goalkeeper. It comes back to not having this ball playing keeper. And you just see every performance we have with Trafford is infinitely better as a collective than Donnarumma. And I don't think Trafford is a better goalkeeper than Donnarumma, obviously not. But I think he's the better goalkeeper for Manchester City than Donnarumma is. And I think there's a difference there that maybe
Yes.
a lot of people miss.
I guess if you always play better with him versus Donnarumma, then I mean, it's not even about if he's better than Donnarumma. It's about what happens to the rest of the team when he's in, you know?
Exactly. It's the ripple effects of it. I think I was
Yeah.
talking to John McKenzie about this, and he referred to the empathy of passes when you're moving it around, which I think is really interesting, because something we see with Donnarumma a lot, right, is yes, he'll make the successful pass when it's those short passes. And people often associate a ball-playing goalkeeper with, oh, can they spray it 50 yards up the pitch like an unreal ping and get an assist? But really, that's not what it is, right? It's being able to get the ball from a short pass, move it quickly and effectively across the pitch so that you can then catch the opposition out of their defensive shape and find a free man. That's what it is, more than those really long passes. That's great too. But really, again, it's about doing the easy stuff effectively and consistently. And Donnarumma doesn't do that. Yes, on a graph, he looks really good because he is completing the passes. But if he's completing the pass, for example, he's taking a second longer on it than Trafford would, and then the pass is going slightly behind Kushnoff, for example, it's going to his weak foot, and then he has to take his first touch back towards the goal. Then what you've done is you've triggered a press, you've put us under pressure we don't need to be in, instead of being able to play out. Whereas I think Trafford, more often than not, he'd do that action slightly faster, and he'd put the pass in the right place, and then the ripple effect of that is, oh, then we've beat the press instead of being pressed and being trapped in. And I think that is really important.
If when you spoke to him, you spoke, because obviously when you talk about empathy, obviously it's obviously like a feeling, right?
Yeah.
Now, when you make a pass to someone, if it's a bad pass, you know it's a bad pass, right? Do you have that empathy, right? Do you have that feeling of, this pass, yes, I got it to him, but was it helpful for him? Like, have I put him in a bad situation? So I was going to ask if when you spoke to him, you spoke about not just accuracy of passes in terms of completion, but accuracy of passes in terms of where the pass actually ends up. Because this is one thing I used to find a lot when I was doing like loads of trials when I was younger, playing football, and like I was in the rat race where everybody was trying to make it and everybody was trying to play for the next team. And you go to trials and, you know, guys are completing passes and they're always completing passes, but they're stitching their teammates up. And that's one thing that you get with non-ball playing goalkeepers, is that they just want to complete a pass because they aren't very good. But you'll find good ball playing goalkeepers put passes in places that allow their players, their defenders, their strikers to just go, right? To just make the next action easier. It's why when Alisson does that really long side swipe, long ball to Salah or to Ekitike or whatever, it is like 15 yards ahead of him, right? Obviously, he could, you know, take 15 yards off it and it drops right at Salah's feet, but that's not very helpful for Salah, right? It's that kind of that mindset that ball-playing goalkeepers have, is they think like outfield players, right? When you play a through ball, there's a reason it's called a through ball, right? It's through in front of the player you're passing to, right? Goalkeepers don't have that. Well, some goalkeepers don't have that kind of that mentality about passing. They're just like, I just need to make this pass. This is who I'm supposed to pass to. It doesn't matter how it gets there. So yeah, it's definitely an aspect of Donnarumma's game that will lend itself to like just being killers, or being a killer for Man City, because even at the level that I play football is very low level, right? We start pressing when we see bad touches, when we see bad passes, when we see someone facing their own goal. And this is like 10 divisions lower than where they're playing, right? What do you think Newcastle are going to do with Joe Linton and Tonali and Barnes and Elanga and all these athletes? They see Donnarumma make a pass to Kusanov and it's on his back foot and he has to turn towards his goal. They're all just going to start running at him, right? If Trafford can make the pass to his front foot and he can look forward, then maybe they don't even press at all because there is no trigger. So it's definitely an interesting point. And I wonder what, obviously the players will never answer this question, but I wonder who they feel more comfortable playing with, right? Do they think, all right, I've got Donnarumma behind me, I'm not going to concede anything? Or do they think, oh, I've got Trafford behind me, when I get the ball, it's going to be perfect? You know, it's an interesting way up.
Exactly. I think it is really interesting. And this is why, like I said before, I think Trafford is probably the worst goalkeeper, but he's better for Manchester City because the outfield team is good enough that if we have control, we just won't concede shots. And it's this argument of shot prevention rather than shot stopping, because in a way, James Trafford is a better shot stopper than Donnarumma, just because with him, the shots won't happen because we have control of the game. And no matter how good your ball-playing goalkeeper is, you are as a shot stopper, that's always going to be more valuable in terms of the shot not happening, right? Because if the shot doesn't happen, it's 100% not a goal. Even if you've got like that alien guy from the Nike advert who's that unreal goalkeeper, if there's still only a 1% chance of going in, it's worse situation that they've taken the shot, no matter how good you are as a shot stopper, which is why for me, I feel more comfortable with Trafford. Obviously, I'm not on the pitch because I'm shit at football and I'm sat at home on my couch, but as a fan, I'd rather have Trafford, and I think we're seeing a shift after yesterday, because basically after every game Trafford will do, I make a video going, look at this is amazing, this is probably what we should be doing. And the response I've always got previously is, this is insane, Donnarumma's way better. And it kind of shifted yesterday. It seemed a lot of people were more on board with Trafford. So it'd be interesting to see if we do see Pep Guardiola take that risk and play him in the league. And I don't think we will because of non-footballing reasons. I think the contracts and whatnot, you have to play Donnarumma because you can't really get rid of him. He's on so much money. So I don't think we'll see it happen, but I'd like to see it happen. Anyway, goalkeeper ran over. This is just every podcast now. There's 20 minutes on why James Trafford is better than Donnarumma for Man City.
I've actually never heard anybody say that. Like, I really like James Trafford, and when you guys signed him before you signed Donnarumma, I was like, oh, this is really good. Because I thought he was really good, especially when he was at Burnley. I thought it was fantastic. So I was like, oh, this is like that Edison type signing where, like, okay, he's probably going to be there for like 5, 6, maybe even 10 years, and he's going to be really good. But obviously, when you have the chance to sign Donnarumma, it's like you just sign him, and now your team, I think is I don't know how to put it. Obviously,
it's better on paper.
Yeah, and like as you say, like he caps the ceiling, but like his floor is so high.
His floor is higher,
like he's just gonna stop so many shots. It's like PSG, like last year, the Champions League tie between Liverpool and PSG was just a display of goalkeeping masterclass. The first game was just Alisson had the best game I've actually ever seen from a goalkeeper, even better than Courtois against us in that 22 Champions League final. And then the reverse fixture, well, we should have lost that game like 7-0. Like, honestly, like they should have scored 7 goals. And I remember counting, like going through the highlights, counting how many should have been goals. And there were 7. And then they come to Anfield and they won 1-0. And Donnarumma was unbelievable. Like, we should have won that game 4-0, 4-1 or something like that. And it was, I just thought, when you have a goalkeeper that is literally going to, because he won them that game and Alisson won us the first game, even though he didn't score the goal. When you have a goalkeeper like that, it's like you just have to have them, because if your outfield players have an off day like we did at their place, Alisson saved us, right? He saved 5 or 6 shots that should have been goals. And Trafford, I don't think I don't think he has that in him.
No, I agree.
So you'd be liable to lose games that you could win.
My argument is that I don't think Donnarumma's really that guy consistently. Like with Courtois, you're getting that almost every single time. With Alisson, you're getting great performances basically every time. Alisson's also a great ball player, so that doesn't really work. But yeah, with Courtois, you're getting that every time. And I don't think you do with Donnarumma. He was amazing in the Champions League run last season, but before that, he was always making mistakes in big games. This season, he's made a lot of mistakes in big games for us. Hell, even against Real Madrid in the Champions League, like we've been told, this is why we signed him. Against Real Madrid, he'll make loads of big saves. And then the first action he has to complete, he just moves his arm out the way for some reason and concedes a goal. And from that point, we were constantly on the back foot. And if we're taking this trade-off seriously and saying, oh, this guy's a crazy shot stopper, he's going to save you, and then he's not saved us when it really matters, that's where I think, I might as well just have the ball-playing goalkeeper, personally.
Yeah.
I think just goalkeepers in general right now are really interesting, because I think with the rise of man-to-man pressing, for me, goalkeepers have almost become the most important position on the pitch, which sounds crazy, right? Because they're kind of boring, but
yeah, I think
it's so important now.
Become more important because the other positions have become less important, as opposed to the goalkeeper becoming more important. So it's like, I think the goalkeeper has become more important relative to everybody else. Because before you'd say like your 6 is probably still your most important player, but they were like so important. It was like you had to have a really good one. And if you didn't, then you couldn't play. But now with the way that teams press man to man, and with the best way to beat man to man being rotations, and I don't know how to describe it. It's like, if you move enough, there's going to come a point where they make a mistake, right? They don't track. If you swap a lot, if you interchange. So I did this thing on set pieces, and like actual set plays from set pieces, like basketball. Like if you set screens, like in basketball, most teams play man to man. If you set a screen and you keep setting screens, eventually they're going to make a mistake, right? You're going to have a 2-on-1 or 1-on-2 or whatever, right? With man-to-man pressing in football, it's the same thing. Like if you move enough and you rotate your midfielders enough, then there's going to be someone free to get the ball. Now, if you don't know who it's going to be because you're always rotating, you don't really want it to just be like, oh, you've got 1-6 who can play and then your other midfielders are runners or anything like that. So now you get teams like Liverpool where it's like, it could be Jones, it could be Szoboszlai, it could be Gravenberch who gets the ball off the defense and plays. So now your actual 6 isn't that important, which is why we don't actually play with one. So the goalkeeper is more important because the most important players are less important, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I feel it's more homogenous, isn't it? Maybe is the best word for it. I think the importance of everyone is almost equal now.
Yeah,
because you could make the argument for fullbacks. Like there was a really interesting video on The Athletic this week about Nico O'Reilly and how maybe your fullbacks are now arguably your most important players because they are the guys who are going to make the difference against these man-to-man presses consistently, because wingers maybe aren't going to track and they're the most likely not to track, which I think is really interesting. But it's a similar thing with goalkeepers. Like you say, the goalkeeper is where you can find that edge and advantage, because obviously you can't press 11v11 because you're not going to step your goalkeeper up onto the striker. So the goalkeeper is where you know you're consistently going to get the advantage. And I think for that reason, they're very, very important.
Yeah, it's like it's interesting that point on like wingers being the ones that you want to target, because obviously linking to other sports, when you play basketball, it's like you want to drag the center, the big man out to the 3-point line because that's where they don't want to be. Like they're often not going to go out there, right? So you run lots of plays that drags them out and targets them. And it's interesting to think of it in the same way with wingers. It's like if you know the winger is the player that might not track across the 6-yard box when the left back goes across the 6-yard box, then why don't you send your left back across the 6-yard box, right? And if that's the player that is going to give you the best chance to get out, then that's just what they're going to do. That teams are going to start, they all do the same thing. Like when teams started running pick and rolls in basketball, everyone started running pick and rolls. When teams started running like crossing routes in the NFL, every team started doing it, right? They all do the same thing. So if wingers really don't want to press and don't want to be involved in pressing man to man, then every team is going to start using their fullbacks like you guys do.
I think PSG were the catalyst for that, and it's why I think PSG are a weaker team this season, just because they found the new trend last season, and that's why they were so effective. They were the first team to really use the fullbacks like they did. They were the first team to deploy this kind of floaters and anchors is the correct term for it, I think, kind of style. And this season, we've kind of seen that be used everywhere. Like you guys do it to a certain extent, we do it, Chelsea do it, Barcelona do it, almost everyone's doing it. And I think naturally that makes PSG way less effective, and we've been seeing that just because people know how to defend against it now. They know what they're going to see, they're expecting it, and if you're not new, you're not ahead of the curve, that's a problem. And it's why Pep Guardiola's been so successful, right? Because he's always ahead of the curve. He were the guy, he'll make the tweak, everyone else will copy it. By the time people have copied it, he's already tweaked again.
Yeah, I think that's
why we've seen him struggling recently, because Arteta was the guy to make the tweak, and now he's behind the curve. And we're trying to see him be a bit different still. We're not seeing him 100% commit down that physicality route, which I think is interesting, because I think he knows that in order to win things and be dominant, you need to be the guy to find the new trend. You need to be the guy to tweak first rather than the one copying, because if you're the one copying, you're always behind. And we've seen that almost everywhere for the past decade or so. All right, we're actually going to talk about Liverpool now instead of goalkeepers like we do every show. And I think the first place you start with Liverpool naturally is Arne Slot. To what extent then, Rao, do you think Arne Slot is to blame for this calamity of a Liverpool team we're seeing currently? And as an extension of that, are you then slot in or are you more slot out? Where do you sit?
I think to answer the question, to give you guys listening the answer to the big question, I think slot in, if I was just going to give you just like a 2-1 answer to that. But to answer the first question about the extent to which he's to blame, I would say the things that are mentality based, that's on the manager, right? And when you see players' heads dropping, it probably wouldn't happen under Jurgen Klopp because these guys really loved him, and he was energetic and he galvanized the team. That stuff didn't really happen much, but what you watch on the pitch from Liverpool is sometimes really nice. Like the first 30 minutes of the game, there was some really, really good football being played. Like really, not just pretty, because the pretty stuff is what everybody's going to talk about. You know, Verts and Ekatike, one touch, 1-2s and flicks, and Van Dijk did some flick in the box. It was like the weirdest thing I've seen. It was like he did like a back heel. Do you remember that? Like in the first half, and it's like, you know, it's really pretty and stuff, and we lose, right? But people will look at the pretty stuff and say, all right, Liverpool can play good football. But what really got me was that there was some intelligent football too, like very, very smart about when to do those things, where to do them. And at the end of the day, we actually just missed chances. Like we just missed good chances. And I think as a manager, your job is to put a system in place that gets or that breeds opportunities, right? It's like why counter-attacking teams, or like why we played a lot of counter-attacking football when we had Salah, Mane, and Firmino, because we had really quick wingers, right? So you want to put a system in place that gives your team opportunities to score. Now, I don't think there have been many games this season where Liverpool have had no opportunity to score, right? We've had lots of games where we've had opportunities to score and we've just missed chances. Like that, at that point, is not on the manager. There's nothing the manager can say to Florian Wirtz that makes him score, right? When he has the chance to score. There's nothing that he, like Arne Slot could say to Mo Salah in that chance in the 14th minute where he's like taking forever to shoot and he goes out for a throw in. Like, what can Slot do about that? You know, Salah last season, that's 1-0. And at 1-0, the game probably changes. And that's probably why we were able to win the league, because every time he had those chances, or not every time, but most of the time, he would score. So if I was watching Liverpool every week saying, this guy, he has no idea what he's doing because we're not creating any chances, I'd say, all right, he probably needs to go. You need to get somebody in that can put his players in good positions. But Ekatike had a chance in like the 8th minute. He puts it past the post and over the bar. Salah has that chance on 14 minutes. Like he puts it out for a throw in, right? There have been chances, and that's what the manager's job is give your guys chances to score. He has done that, and I don't know what's up with the players this season. They're just maybe in bad form, maybe they lack confidence, but they're just not scoring. And interestingly, there was this Athletic article, and this is obviously now outdated because we would have had big chances in that game, but there was this article about how Liverpool this season had missed 102 big chances. Now, I don't know the numbers for everybody else, but 102 big chances is a lot of chances, right? We've probably played about 40 games this season. 102 big chances across 40 matches is a lot of big chances missed. As a manager, if you're creating that many chances that have been missed, I don't think you're doing something wrong, right, in terms of tactically. And that's what most people are getting onto Slot for, is like, he doesn't know what he's doing. He's playing this player in this position. How can't he get the most out of Ertz? Why can't it? It's not about what's going on the pitch in terms of the tactics. It's what's going on in the dressing room, right? Mm-hmm. When the players go 1-0 down, 2-0 down, and they give up, that's what's going on in the dressing room. And if you want example of that, is just look at Tottenham, right? When Tottenham go 1-0 down, it's actually over with. Like, they don't want to play, right? Basuma starts walking around. The only players who really care there, like Archie Gray, like the young ones have something to prove. Bergvall, Gray, right? The thing with Tottenham is they've got like not to go off tangent, right? But they've got this idea in their head that they're better than they are, right? These players who've come from like Tell, who's come from Bayern Munich, Colin Wine, come from PSG and Juventus, and you got Xavi Simons, right? These players think that they're more than they are. So when they go 1-0 down, they don't really care. And like, I think coming off winning the Premier League, we might have a bit of that in our squad as well, where it's like, well, yeah, we're the champions, we're the defending champions. Soboslai said it in the article, in the interview, before we played Arsenal. And they asked him, oh, how do you feel playing against the eventual champions, or like because they were first by so much, as like they're going to be. And he's on some, no, they're playing the champions. And sure, it's really good mentality. It's like, yeah, it's great to think like that. But when you go 1-0 down, you guys don't play like you want to still be champions. You play like you're happy that you won last year. Now that's on Slot, right? If he's not galvanizing the troops before they go out on the pitch, giving them if you go 1-0 down, you're still in it, the same way that we came back a lot with Jurgen Klopp. If he's not doing that, then he's got to go. But I don't know if that's on him. I don't know if it's just the players being complacent, because he is actually putting them in positions to succeed, right? The start of the year might not have been the case. Like Wirtz had a horrible start to the season. He wasn't in the right positions. Szoboszlai was playing in positions that weren't great for him. McAllister really struggled. Gravenberch kind of struggled a little bit. But now the players are being put in positions that are good for them. Kerkez especially, he's had a fantastic second half of the season. And it's because he's been put in positions that help him, right? They're just not performing. I don't even know what else to say. Like, they're just not performing. And that part isn't on Slot. The actual on the pitch stuff is not on him.
I think I disagree, because I think the answer's probably somewhere in the middle. And I disagree because your point was maybe Liverpool aren't finishing their chances. But if we look at the whole season, and yes, that was true in that specific game, but if we look at the whole season, you've only underperformed XG by 1. Like, I don't think that's significant enough to say the players are in bad positions and therefore that's the reason why, because you're scoring at a fairly consistent rate.
Yeah, but it's like the players that you have should be outperforming XG, right? I'm sure if you look at the numbers, I'm sure you just pulled them up, right? If you look at the numbers from us last year, we probably outperformed XG by a lot. And that's what, obviously, you're not expecting to outperform XG because that would defeat the point of it being the number. Obviously, you expect it to be whatever it is. But
I think with top players, you are expecting to outperform.
Exactly, right? So if you're underperforming XG by 1, and let's say last season, I don't know what the number is, but I know Salah
you overperformed by 2.
Yeah, Salah overperformed his XG last year by like, I don't know, like 5 or something like that. This season, he's underperforming by, I don't know what the number is, but he's definitely underperforming XG the last time I checked, right? So if you go from having a player like Mo Salah, who had probably the best individual Premier League season ever last season, to now he's underperforming, but you still put him in those positions to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not really, like, what else can you do as a manager?
Well, I will say this. The team clearly just aren't getting in those positions more frequently. It's kind of what I come back to with strikers. I don't think finishing is really that important at all. I think what's more important is getting the chances. Like, Erling Haaland is the most prolific striker in the world, not because he's an insane finisher, but it's because he's amazing at getting chances. Statistically, he's good, but he's not like a Kane level or anything. He's like,
no.
He's just kind of good. But the reason he's so good is because he's like way better than everyone else at getting chances. Positioning is better. And I think this is the case here as well. Yes, there's a swing of 3 goals in terms of finishing compared to this season to last season. But what's also happened last season is you've created 20 more XG. Like, that is way more significant than the finishing.
What, in this season or last season?
Last season, if so far this season, there's 51 XG. Last season, you had 82, 83 even. So my point is, if we extrapolate whatever's left for 7 games, you're probably finishing about 60. So around 20 more XG, that is more significant than the finishing. Sure. And I think the other thing with Arne Slot, and I think where your problems probably are in majority, is the out of possession stuff. I think John McKenzie were talking about this on Twitter. But what we're seeing in possession is it is more about the individual, right? You can have guys like Salah who are going to bring them great moment, whoever else, they can have big moments. Out of possession, you don't really have that. It's about the collective. And therefore, I think it's more about coaching than in possession. If you're bad out of possession, the coaching is bad because it is basically all structural.
Yeah,
and
the coaching
Liverpool's out of possession structure is really, really bad. Like yesterday, when we pushed you, when you weren't pressing as high, when you dropped back into more of a mid-block type of thing, the spaces in midfield were insane. Like, Ryan Cherky could find a pocket every single time. And that, if the team is coached well, that wouldn't happen.
Yeah, I think the team is coached poorly, not tactically. Like, I don't think you look at the Liverpool shape or the Liverpool structure and go, where is someone, or why is that space there? You just say they're just too far away. It's like they're just not running enough. Like I don't want to say it like they're not running enough, because like the players actually have good distance cover numbers. So I guess like when you say that they're coached poorly, it's like the players aren't. It's like they're choosing the wrong times to do things. But I don't know if that makes sense.
Coaching. That's poor.
Well, yeah, but at the same time,
I refuse to believe that every single player for Liverpool is making bad decisions all of a sudden. I just don't think that's reality. And you have to look at, why is this happening? It's probably because of poor coaching, especially out of possession. If the structure is bad, it's almost certainly bad coaching. It's not just all these players being crap.
I think if you, well, for sure, 100%, like, I agree. So it's not like me disagreeing with your point or anything, right? But when you don't run and like when you're like uninterested, sorry, out of possession, it shows a lot more than in possession. Like in possession, you could be uninterested and keep the ball for like 2-3 minutes. Like that's like at the end of the game yesterday. That's exactly what we saw, right? We had more possession in the game overall, but I'm sure that probably wasn't the case in the 70th minute. But once you guys went 4-0 up, it's like, yeah, we can keep the ball uninterested. But when you got the ball, it's like, what on earth is going on? You guys aren't running. You're not thinking about where you should be, about where
Yeah.
your assignment is. And I think that's the problem with Liverpool. It's like when you have to be interested, they're just not interested. And again, like you don't want to talk too much about mentality, but when you see it so often, it's like I can't see anything in Liverpool's structure that says Slot is setting them up poorly. I
Yeah.
can see something in Liverpool's out of possession play that's saying Slot hasn't got them to care.
But
Right?
that comes back to Slot again, right?
Sure, yeah. That's what I'm saying. So like at the beginning, when I first answered the question, it's like the stuff on the pitch, the tactical stuff on the pitch, I don't think he's very bad. I think he's fine. But in the dressing room, when he's like, this is what we need to do, he's probably telling them this is what we need to do, but he's not getting them to want to do it.
Yeah, I think that's the sign of a bad manager, though. I think was it Liam Rossini, I think, that says managing is 90% people skills, because it is. That's what it is. You're a leader. It's about galvanizing. Like
have managers like Zidane and Ancelotti who probably don't do much. I mean, Gareth Bale went on. I don't know what that podcast is called. It might be The Overlap, but I don't know which one it is. Where I'm not sure who the hosts are.
I think
but he went on a podcast, right? And he was like, they don't do any tactics. Like Real Madrid, they just go out and play, and then if it's Barcelona or Bayern Munich or something, then they'll put a couple things in, right? So obviously, if you have managers like Zidane and Ancelotti who have tendencies to do that, you obviously can get away with being just a man manager and just a people manager. But I think the thing with Arne Slot is like, who's on your coaching staff? Like if you're a good coach, right? If you're a really good coach, who's on your coaching staff to do the bit that you're not good at? Because that's what a coaching staff is there for. It's like, you're the manager, sure, but they all have little jobs. Like Jurgen Klopp was a really, really good man manager, but Pep Lijnders was an assistant manager who was more tactically adept, maybe not more tactically adept, but he had more of an interest in that stuff. You know, he wasn't running around like Klopp. He was telling guys, all right, you need to be here and need to be here. It's like why Pep Guardiola had such an interest in him. So like, who's on your coaching staff to do the bit that you're not good at, right? At Newcastle, like Jason Tyndall seems to be more of like a man manager than Eddie Howe. Like he's running up and down a touchline, trying to galvanize the shoots, blah, blah, blah. So as a manager, sure, you can get onto Arne Slot for not being good at man managing and just being a good coach. But a lot of managers are like that. It's very rare that you find a manager who's a good coach and a good manager, right? But obviously we're not looking at who assistants are, who technical staff are, but they are part of why that manager is able to focus on the things that they are good at. So
yeah, I agree. But again, sorry, I think that comes back to Slot again, right? Because almost certainly like the manager decides his coaches and his backroom staff, they basically all move as units now. So if you're a bad delegator, you're a bad manager. It's why Sir Alex Ferguson was so good, right? Because he was excellent at the people thing and he delegated the coaching stuff really effectively. That makes him not a bad manager. That makes him a really good manager. Like, whereas I think if you're a bad man manager, you're a bad manager. If you're a bad tactician, you're a bad manager. But maybe those things aren't necessarily true, because if you're a really good delegator, then you can become a good manager, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So, but like these things aren't why people say Slot should go, right? If someone came out and said, look, I think Arne Slot should go because he obviously doesn't have a good enough staff to help him do the things he's not good at, I'd say, you know what, that's actually a pretty good point. I might agree with that. But people saying he's playing this player in this position, the stuff on the pitch is fine. Like, I think the stuff on the pitch is fine in terms of structurally. Right. In fact, there were times at the beginning of the season where it wasn't fine. Like I remember when we played Chelsea and they absolutely dogged us, right? They dogged us when they won 2-1 right at the end of the game. And the structure was really, really bad. Like we were like zonal pressing, but with like no intensity once it got into certain zones. 2 weeks later, we weren't doing that anymore. Like we had completely like nipped that in the bud. Like that stuff was gone. So he obviously understands what works, what doesn't work. At the end of the day, the players just have to play better. Like I don't really know. I've always been a manager apologist, like my whole life, even when I was a lot younger. I used to think, I remember asking my dad, like, why do managers get sacked when the team is bad? Like, I was like, what? That doesn't make any sense because at the end of the day, like, you're on the pitch. Obviously, now I understand more, but the players do just actually have to play better. Like, they're having really, really bad seasons. And I don't want that to be, obviously, I don't want people to drag players out all the time if they're playing poorly. Sometimes you're just in bad form. But I don't want it to be like Slot is getting all the blame for something that is shared, right?
Yeah.
What he's bad, if someone came out, like I said, if someone came out and said, look, Arne Slot is a great tactician. He, putting things in place to help his team win. He's just not good at man managing and, kicking up a mentality, then he should go because he obviously doesn't understand that about himself and his staff. Then fair enough, right? But people are saying like he won the league last season with Jurgen Klopp's tactics, and like, no, he didn't, right? He obviously had a squad last season that really, really, really wanted to win the Premier League. They really wanted to win it, right? There are players in that squad who hadn't won it before. They weren't with us when we won the first time with Jurgen Klopp. So when he says, hey guys, let's do this, the tactics are relatively similar. It was like, hey guys, let's do this. They wanted to win every match, so they did it. This season, sure, he might be behind the curve on some tactics, right? But they don't have the same passion to carry out his plan, which is a good plan. He's a good tactician, right? But he doesn't have the man managing skills to get a squad that doesn't want to do it. Klopp had a way to do that, right? The squad that wasn't interested became interested. Slot can have a squad. If they're interested, he's really good because he's a good tactician. But if they're not interested, he doesn't have what it takes as a man manager to get them to carry it out. So I don't think he should go based on the tactics, and that's what it seems to be like the narrative is.
Okay, but you think he should go based on other factors?
I
You wouldn't be
truly,
opposed to him going based on other factors.
if he got sacked, I wouldn't be like, oh my God, like what the hell? But
Yeah.
at this stage, I don't think he deserves to lose his job.
No, I'd maybe do an end of season handshake with him. And I say that because I think the opportunity cost of sacking him isn't large at all, because I think Xabi Alonso is just a better manager.
But Xabi Alonso has the exact same problem as him. Xabi Alonso is such a good coach. He's a fantastic coach, right? And at Leverkusen, he had players who really wanted to win. These guys, it's Leverkusen, right? Who doesn't want to beat Bayern Munich in the Bundesliga, right? If Xabi Alonso at Real Madrid, he couldn't manage and they got rid of him. Like, they were doing pretty well, but
I disagree with that. I think Xabi Alonso at Real Madrid was fantastic until that 2-1 win against Barcelona, which sounds insane, but in that game, he brought Vinicius Jr. off to bring Rodrigo on to be a defensive thing. And the fact that Vinicius Jr. at that point just decided, I don't like you, you're getting
They were already
sacked.
falling out from before that.
Really,
Well,
I don't watch
that.
tons of Real Madrid, but the fact that one player can do that to a manager, I think is insane. And I think that only really happens at Real Madrid.
I see why that is like the point that people think it started going bad for him, but it was going bad from the beginning. There was this report that had come out from Spain saying that half the squad believes in him and half the squad doesn't. Right? And there was like there's like a camp of players. I think Vinicius was in there. I think Valverde was in there, and like some big like key players in the squad didn't have belief in him. And that was before the Clasico. So the Clasico wasn't like a random thing. Like, Vinicius didn't blow up for just being subbed off. He blew up because they're already falling out. And then obviously CBS did the whole thing with Henry talking about man management and 90% of the powers with the players, 10% of the man. And all of this stuff came out. But from weeks before, like even like back end of the Club World Cup, there was the feeling at Madrid that Alonso didn't have the stars behind him, right? I think Mbappe was the leader of the group that really, really like believed in him, but that wasn't enough, right? And Xabi Alonso, Real Madrid were good. They lost like 2 games all season when he got sacked, right? And that was to Atletico Madrid and Barcelona. These are like good teams, or maybe and Celta Vigo, so 3 games, right? He has the same problem as Arne Slot. He's a great coach, really, really good coach. You saw it at Leverkusen, and I mean Real Madrid. He wasn't able to implement his stuff. They're just playing the same, right? But he has the same problems. If he comes to Liverpool, I don't see what's going to change, right? He can't
Do you not
play.
think? Sorry. Do you not think,
Go on.
given the fact that the star at Liverpool for me is Florian Wirtz, and the fact that you've got Frimpong, these are players who he's worked very effectively with in the past. I think you're probably far more likely to have a group of players that will believe in him and listen to him than you are at Real Madrid.
But why would they? Okay, other than Wirtz and Frimpong, what about Xabi Alonso would make the player? Other than maybe because he was a player and like maybe they respect him for that. Other than those two things, the fact that he was a player and he's coached Wirtz and Frimpong, what about Alonso is going to make them want to play any more than with Arne Slot? I just don't see what would change. If you said we're going to bring in Carlo Ancelotti, we're going to bring in Zinedine Zidane, who I objectively don't think I would like. I don't think I'd want those to be Liverpool managers. I prefer coaches, and that's just a preference, subjective preference. If they said that they were going to bring that kind of manager in, I'd say, okay, we're probably going to see a change. We're probably going to see something different, right? Xabi Alonso and Arne Slot are the same kind of manager. They're the ones that when you take training sessions and they put the dots on the board and they start running through things, they're the types of managers that players go, oh, wow, he knows what he's talking about. You know, he's not like Jose Mourinho. He's not like Zidane. I don't think anything would change with Alonso in terms of we go 1-0 down, the guys, they don't want to play anymore. Like, what's going to change?
Yeah, I think there's probably some truth to that. But also, I feel like it's just worth rolling the dice. Because I think to say that Alonso and Slot are exactly the same is wrong.
Not
They're both
exactly.
people, right? But
There's similar
I feel
molds.
like,
I mean,
yeah, but there's gonna be differences there. And I don't see, right, the thing is, I can't see if you stick with Slot, do things necessarily get better? Probably not, if you're suggesting the issues are like personality-wise. Maybe I don't think the issues solve there. So I feel like it's probably worth rolling the dice and seeing, oh, with Alonso, can these issues improve? And if not, that's maybe the moment where you go, let's go to a Zidane or an Angelotti.
do you know
I
what
think right now it's worth rolling the dice because the stakes are really high. You need to win now. That's the reality of it. Right.
Sure. Well, okay. The thing I think about a manager is like when you bring a manager in, the most important question is this person capable of winning trophies? Like that's it. It's like
Yeah.
Arteta right now, because at the start of the season, I'm sure maybe not the start of the season, but at this point in the season, right now that we've seen Arne Slot have a bad half season or 2/3 of the season, right? Now people would probably say Arteta is a better manager than Arne Slot. Maybe at the start of the season they might not have said that because Slot just came off winning the Premier League, right? But if Arteta doesn't win anything this season, there will be Arsenal fans that say he should go. Not because he's a bad manager, but because it seems like he's not capable of winning, right? Arne Slot has already quelled that. You don't have that feeling in the boardroom like, oh, how long do we give this guy because he might not be able to win, right? I think as a manager, that's the most important thing when you bring in managers. You want to know if at a certain point this person can win something for me. Now, by rolling the dice and bringing in different managers, you have to assess that, right? With Xabi Alonso, if he comes in, you have to give him an amount of time that at the beginning you don't know, right? How long it's going to take you to figure out if you can win. It's what Arsenal are going through right now. It's like Arteta keeps giving them reasons to believe in him, right? Every time they go out for a season, they have a great season. Objectively, that they don't win, but they have a great season. And that makes the board think, yeah, sure, he's probably going to win next year. And he doesn't win. You go, wait, this might be the kind of manager that just isn't capable of winning. And I think with Arne Slot, like you've already got over the biggest obstacle. You've already figured that bit out. Why don't you stick with him? Right? It's like I feel like the feeling of getting rid of him is just a bit of entitlement from Liverpool fans because you just won a Premier League. What is of course you want to win every season, but what is this obsession with if he can't win now, he's not good? He just won last year. You know, if Arsenal fans have a right to be really mad with Arteta if he doesn't win, because every season you look like you might win, but for some reason you don't get across the line. With Slot, like, you know he's got it in him You know he's capable. Like he's already shown you he can do it.
I'd say Alonso's capable though as well because he's won in the past with Leverkusen.
Sure.
Therefore, he is a winner. Like it's not like Arteta where he's come from City where obviously he won things, but he was an assistant. So I don't think that's really, can't brand him as a winner because of that. And then he's gone into Arsenal. It's his first proper job. Like you haven't got that history, whereas you've seen Alonso's won in the past. Therefore, I think to say he's not a winner is.
Well, no. I'm not saying that he's not a winner. It's like you have to figure out who can win for you.
Yeah.
You don't know if he can win for you. He could win. Like Ruben Amorim won a lot in Portugal, right? He won a lot, but you didn't know what coming to Man United. Oh yeah, this is a winner because he hasn't won for you. It's like Arne Slot won in the Netherlands, right? But when he got to Liverpool, it wasn't like we've got a winner here. Like after he won the Premier League, it was like, oh yeah, we have a winner here, right? With managers, when they come in, like you want them to win early, so you get over that hump, right? So for Arne Slot, it was absolutely perfect. First season you win, but even Jurgen Klopp got to a Champions League final, lost. We lost the league by a point, and even the season we came runners up in the Champions League, we were fourth in the Premier League, and yeah, it's really fun. But you're asking yourself, can this guy win, or are we just playing fun football? We lost the Europa League final. We lost the Champions League final. We weren't doing very well in the Premier League. So you're like, could he win? And winning that Champions League in 2019, it completely changed the mindset at the club. It was like, oh, we have a winner. Now we just give everything to this winner. And Arne Slot isn't being afforded that same treatment. And I don't understand why. It's like Jurgen Klopp, as soon as he won the first thing he won, it was like, okay, this is our guy. Arne Slot wins in his first season, and it's like, because he's not won in his second season, let's get rid of him. I truly believe that that's unfair more than anything. Right? I think that's just it's not fair. This is your job at the end of the day, right? Your job description, do the best you can. You have the best possible year. Well, obviously you didn't win everything, but you have, in terms of Premier League, the best possible year you can. And now you get sacked a few months later. I don't think that's fair at all. You've already shown you're capable of doing your job.
I'd maybe be inclined to give him another year then.
Yeah.
You think what you're saying. Just because I think there is the argument as well of, yes, you spent 500 million in the summer, and the surface level unnuanced argument is to say, spend lots of money should be good straight away. But I don't think that's true at all, because what we've seen at Liverpool is you've lost Luis Diaz, one of your best pressers, Jota, obviously, through other circumstances. Again, another great presser. Trent, probably your best creative player. Like, key bits of this team last season are now gone, and you're given so many new moving parts, and you've got to try and make a team out of that and win straight away. I think that's impossible. You're always going to have some growing pains there. You're always going to have a transitional phase. But the reason I'd still probably lean to bringing in Alonso is because, fair enough, he's not succeeded at the start. And when people were overreacting, I was very much saying, look at this. This is changing. You've got to give him time. I think the fact that he's still not winning now, and the issues are, like you say, my brain's gone. What's the word for?
Like mentality things.
Mentality, yes. There you go. The issues are mentality. I don't really see how you come back from that. I think if you've lost the dressing room and you can't galvanize players, that's kind of gone. That's a much bigger issue than something is tactically. I think it's really difficult to come back from that.
It definitely is, but like even Jurgen Klopp had that, right? When the year after we won the league and Van Dijk got injured at the beginning of the season, when Pickford injured him at the start of the season, the same things were being said. Like the players didn't want to play. Like we came third, we were like 20 points off the league, and it felt like the dressing room had been lost. It was like we kept losing games. It felt really, really tricky at that point. And people weren't calling for Klopp's job the same way they are with Slot. Like I said, because he had earned that like credit bank from winning before. He had earned some credit bank. But this stuff can happen. Like it's not always going to be good. Like certain managers get offered, I guess, grace and have credit. Managers like Pep, managers like Klopp, right? But every manager goes through a period where the dressing room is not lost, but like going through a period of I guess it's just not good for them, right? Or a period of disbelief, which is, I think right now, the players just don't really believe, right? I don't think after one season, it's not even been a season yet, but by the end of the season, it's probably going to continue the same. I don't think after one season you could say someone who did their job to practically the best of their ability can't do their job anymore. It's like a player has, like Eden Hazard in, what was it, 2014-15 or 15-16, when he had a horrible season, absolutely horrible, right? He'd gone from being one of the best players in the league to one of the worst big players in the league. You didn't go, oh yeah, well, let's sell Hazard, right? Managers, for some reason, don't get that. And I think that that's unfair. They all have a job. Hazard showed he could do it. He had a season where he didn't do it very well. They believed in him, and then he came back and did it.
I think we probably have the same perspective here. I think you're maybe just more forgiving than me. I think the reason why sacking a manager happens so frequently is because the board can show they're taking action and appease fans. It brings vibes up in a way
so
in a
bad.
difficult period. But it is bad, but that's how it is. And I think in football, you have to win now, especially in the Premier League. Like, you can fall so quickly. Look at Spurs, for example. I think sometimes you do just have to hit that button and be cutthroat. And if to do that, you have to put people aside and view them as not people. You have to view them as like pawns in a game to win. And that's just the reality of it. It's business. And I think hitting that button, hitting the reset is probably the most beneficial thing Liverpool can do now, in my opinion, because it's the low risk. It's the low risk thing. And I think
winning
therefore it's
now
the best option.
Winning now is the riskiest thing you can do, because winning, like Liverpool spending 450 million in the summer is trying to win right now. And
yeah,
if it doesn't go well, then you just lose. Like, you lose, and you lose for a long time, right? It's like how Man United have been losing for a long time because they tried to win immediately, right? After, well, when David Moyes came in, they tried to win right now. If you build a culture that is like a winning culture, then if you come third in a season, it's not like, oh my God, blow it up. It's, let's run it back. It's like Arsenal. Arsenal spent so long being kind of trash. Like, they were coming 7th, they were coming 8th, they were missing European football. But if Arsenal come second this season, they're going to go into next season as one of the favourites for the Premier League. That's because they didn't want to win right now when Arteta came in. He came in and was like, look, we're probably not going to win right now, but we can win for a long time if we take some time. And that's what, like, Alex Ferguson did at Man United, right? He didn't try, I mean, he probably won, I don't know when he came in and when he won his first trophy, but he built a culture that was, look, we're going to be good every season because we spent time building the culture. If you give Arne Slot the kind of birth that you gave Jurgen Klopp, because Jurgen Klopp was the same. He built a culture by not winning immediately. He didn't win the Premier League for like 5 years, right? But after those 5 years, you were like, okay, Liverpool are going to be good every year. They're just going to be good. It wasn't like a, let's win now. We win one trophy and now we're like in the depths of hell. Like, it's so risky to do this win now stuff because there's no culture.
I think the riskier thing is to stick with Slot, though, because I think Alonso's like one of the best managers in the world. I think he's unbelievable, and I don't think Slot is that. I think Alonso's a better manager. I think he aligns with Liverpool's identity more, and therefore I don't really see the benefit when you're in a tricky position with Slot anyway to say we don't want this option, even though it's probably better. I think
now it's the
best thing to do is to take that market opportunity and just be cutthroat.
That's a different question, right? Because now we're not talking about does Slot deserve to be sacked. We're now talking about should Liverpool take the chance to pick up Alonso, and that should have nothing to do really with if Slot deserves to lose his job. If Liverpool go out and get Alonso and obviously sack Slot, they should do that thinking Alonso is our guy, not Slot isn't our guy. Do you see what I mean? It's like, it's totally different now.
Yeah, I think it's kind of similar to when Pellegrini left City and we brought in Pep. And it's like, was Pellegrini doing awfully? No. I was like 10, so I probably can't really remember it. But was he awful? No. Was he doing amazing? Also no. Is Pep Guardiola obviously the better option? Yes. And therefore, I think you take that option. But as a result of that, you kind of have to justify sacking Arne Slot.
Yeah.
That's I
don't think you have to justify sacking Arne Slot by saying that he deserves to be sacked. I think you can justify sacking Arne Slot by just saying there's a better manager. And if
Yeah.
as much as I think I'm a slot in guy, if you know, if you want a headline or something like that, if people want to see what side I'm on, right? If they want a headline, I'm slot in, but I'm not also Alonso not in. Like, I think if Liverpool go and get Alonso and sack Slot, I won't be like, oh my God, why do we get rid of Slot? I just don't think he deserves to lose his job. Like, if we sack him and don't sign Alonso, that is truly a bad decision. Well, not a bad decision. In my opinion, it's not a good decision, right? If you go and get Alonso instead and you really believe he's that guy, that's fair enough. That's fine. But that doesn't mean that Slot deserves to lose his.
I think naturally, though, just being, if you're Alonso in, that means you're Slot out because the two cannot coexist together. So I don't necessarily think Arne Slot is a terrible manager. I think sticking with him it'd be okay, right? But I think bringing Alonso in is the better option, and therefore, naturally, because of that, I think Arne Slot should go as well.
Okay, I see what you mean. Where like if you're Alonso in, you have to be Slot out. But you don't have to be Slot out for the reasons that everybody else is Slot out. Most people that are Slot out because they think Slot is bad, right?
Yeah.
If I'm Alonso in, I'm Slot out simply because they can't both be the manager, not because Slot actually deserves to be sacked. You know, so I guess I'm Slot out because I think Alonso's a great manager, but I don't believe that Slot deserves to lose his job because he's been bad.
Anyway, I think we'll conclude there. So thanks for coming on, Rao. A very interesting conversation as always. And thanks for listening, guys. If you're listening on Spotify, hit a little follow button, give us a 5-star rating. It really helps out the podcast. Likewise, if you're listening on YouTube, give us a like, give us a subscribe, and get in the comments. Are you Slot in? Are you Slot out? But don't just put Slot in or Slot out. Give us a reason to, because that's where value is. And come back as well on about Thursday, where we've got Ryan on to talk about Italy and what's gone wrong there, which is a really interesting podcast. And I can say that because we've already recorded it. So cheers for listening and bye-bye.